Hello students, I Aarti ma'am welcome you all to yet another session of English online class dated 17 October 2020. The topic of today's online class is Land of Soul. We will do the summary of this chapter and after that we will do NCERT question and some extra questions which has already come in the previous year exams. So let us start this session. About the author, Nathalie Proveroy was born on February 2, 1975. She is the wife of Belgian ambassador to India. She has traveled to various cities in the world with her husband. She has been embedding the culture of various cities she visited. She holds a master's degree in arts, history of arts and archaeology with a specialization in Japanese art from Catholic University of Leuven in Belgium. She is painted at eroding heritage of Delhi. The problem is that Delhi don't have a sense of belonging, she says, and adds, a majority of people staying in Delhi are migrants from pre-partitioned Punjab or from the states like Bihar, from India or southern India. A need to preserve the heritage is missing. She is an art historian who came in limelight because of her translation work City of Dungeons, a book by William Del. She now plans write her next book on the old Delhi architecture like Jama Masjid and Chandni Chowk. Let us start the session now with the summary. Landscape of Soul. Woodozi was a painter in 18th century. His last painting was landscape that he made for Tang Emperor Xuanzong to beautify a palace wall. Woodozi hid his work behind a screen, so only the emperor would see it. He told the emperor that in the cave in the painting at the bottom of the mountain lived a spirit. He then clapped his hands and the entrance to the cave opened. The painter entered the cave and the entrance closed behind him. Much to the surprise of the emperor, the painting vanished from the wall. After that, neither was there any sign of Woodozi painting, or there was never he who was seen ever again. There are many such stories in China's classical education. The book of great philosophers such as Confucius and Zhuangzi are full of such accounts. These stories help the master to guide his student in the right direction. They also tell of the great or general feeling of the people towards art. There is another well-known story about the painter who did not draw the eye of the dragon that he had painted because he feared that it would fly out of the painting. Let us come to European anecdote. In 15th century, there was a story about an accomplished blacksmith called Quentin Metzi. He fell in love with the painter's daughter. The painter would not accept a son-in-law who was a blacksmith. So Quentin crept into the painter's studio and painted a fly on his latest painting. It looked so real that the master tried to squash it away. He then realized that what had happened. So he immediately took Quentin as his trainee. Quentin married his beloved daughter and later becomes one of the most famous painters of his times. These two stories shows how that each form of art was trying to achieve a perfect impression of similarity in Europe and the spirit of inner life of Asia. When we talk about the Chinese anecdote, in the Chinese story, the emperor appreciated the outer appearance in the painting, but the artist showed him the true meaning of his work. The emperor rules over the land, but the artist knows the soul. The European painter would want people to look at a particular landscape just as he saw it, whereas while the Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. One can enter a Chinese landscape from any point and travel in it. The artist makes a path for your eyes to travel up and down and then back again in a leisurely movement. It is very more even true in case of the horizontal scrolls. The scrolls in which the action of slowly opening the painting, then rolling it up to the move on the other, adds an element of which is not found in any other form of painting. It also requires the active involvement of onlooker, as his participation is physical as well as mental. The Chinese painter wants us to enter his mind. The landscape is a spiritual and abstract universe. This is the famous painting of Woodozi, which was said to be vanished. The idea is expressed as sang sui, which means mountain water. It is used together to symbolize the word landscape. More than two elements of the image presents two complementary poles reflecting the Taoist view of the universe. The mountain is yang. It is depicted upright as if searching towards heaven. It is steady, warm and dry in the sun. On the other hand, the water is yin, that is horizontal and resting on the earth. It is fluid, moist and cold. The basic idea of Taoism is depicting the interaction between yin and yang. While yin is feminine part of the universal energy, yang is the masculine. The vital third element, the middle void of often ignored, there is where the interaction of yin and yang take place. This can be compared with the yogic practice of pranayama. Breathing in, retain, breathe out. The suspension of breath is the void where meditation occurs. The mid voice is indispensable. Nothing can happen without it. This is the reason why in the Chinese landscape there is white, unpainted space. This is also where man finds a basic role. In the space between heaven and earth, man becomes the medium of communication between both poles of the universe. His being there is vital, even if there is only a suggestion of his presence. Francisco Cheng underlines man's importance, saying that man is neither lost nor oppressed by the lofty peaks. He is the eye of the landscape, an eyewitness. It was the French painter Jean Dubuffet, 1840s. Then only a few were interested in the art of inexperienced creative thinkers. However, now the interest in the outsider art is growing internationally. This type of art is described as an art of those who have received no formal training. that is, they are amateurs, but are talented and have an artistic insight. Their work are inspiring, unlike many of the conventional ones. About the same time that Dubuffet but forwarded his concept, in India an unqualified but brilliant artist was creating a masterpiece in realms of art. It was Nek Chand, who changed a little patch of jungle into a rock garden at Chandigarh. He sculpted with stones and used recycled material. This is India's biggest contribution to outsiders' art. The Raw Vision, a UK based magazine, had paved the way in outsiders' art publications. Wrote about Nek Chand and his rock garden sculptures, Woman by Waterfall. The view of art brut or raw art was of work that were in their unrefined state as regard cultural and artistic influence. Nek Chand used everything from a tin to sink to a broken down car to create a magnificent work of art. As an appreciation of his art, the Swiss Commission for UNESCO will be honoring him by putting up an exhibition of his work. The 5-month interactive show, Ream of Nek Chand, beginning October, will be held at leading museums in Switzerland, Belgium, France, and Italy. According to Nek, the greatest reward is seeing people enjoying his creation. So, folks, this was the summary of Landscape of Soul.